Hello everyone, it has been a while, but we are back with another Batman miniature game, 3rd edition Battle Report, and today for you we have 350 rep of Batman versus Bane, or Soldiers of Fortune if you prefer. Here's the table setup, and as always we're going to look at the two crews being played today, and go over their gear, etc, and then get things started. Sorry for the delay, kind of waiting for new releases, and of course Two-Face is his own faction now, and he's got some releases coming later this month, and we'll be taking a look at those going forwards, hopefully. Had my fingers crossed for Mr. Freeze for Christmas, but that isn't happening for the 3rd or 4th year in a row. But let's not talk about that and just jump straight into looking at the crews. So I should mention, because we're a little rusty with Batman on the channel, we're not doing any additional gear, it's just people coming as is. Both crews add up to approximately 348 rep, I think one was 346, one was 348. So this is the Batman crew, large chunk of the 3rd edition starter set with Robin thrown in. So we have the Batman from the 3rd edition starter set, Robin as previously mentioned, we have Harvey Bullock, we have Gordon, who's normally a leader, but if you bring Bruce Wayne he becomes a free agent, and Officer Merkel as the team. And just 4 miniatures in the Soldier of Fortune / Bane's crew, mostly because this Bane is obviously very expensive, and for his I Will Break You he's taking Master Fighter, because we're also bringing Flashpoint Batman, who is an associate of Bane's in the City of Bane storyline, for instance. So he's also expensive, so the two of them together, almost exactly 300 rep, I think it's like 228 something. Ridiculously expensive, so as a result they only have room for Stealth Op and one of the basic thugs from the 3rd edition starter set. I think that's Thug 5? I think it's 5. Also worth mentioning, Flashpoint Batman has given up his Double Blood Amazon sword and taken his dual pistols instead. Dual pistols give him rapid fire, assault, light, and a bunch of other stuff. They're very powerful, but he loses his Double Blood sword, so he's not as good in close combat, but he's good at shooting. So we're actually all set up and ready to go. Rather than drawing a deployment type for the scenario we're playing today, instead just went with the bog standard showdown, which is the 8 inches in on either side deployment. You deploy your leaders first and then everybody else alternates to take turns. So the Batman crew is on your left, Soldiers of Fortune are on your right. You'll never guess who has Audacity in the Soldiers of Fortune crew, given that there's 4 to give out and only 4 people in it. Oh, did forget to mention though, Flashpoint Batman has Grand Strategist, which gives 2 more resource points, so they have 5 instead of 3. And you can see Gordon here, Merkel, Robin, Batman, and then Bullock, who can deploy anywhere, is deployed behind that building. Oh, and Stealth Up has undercover, so he can be up to 8 away from the 8-inch deployment. He's not quite fully 8, he's hiding out of line of sight, but he's against there. And it will be the Soldiers of Fortune going first, but first we have to see if there's any Phase 1 or Phase 2 objective cards being played. There's only one objective card being played before the first turn starts proper. A Die Hard is being played by Soldiers of Fortune on Flashpoint Batman, so as long as he is not KO'd or removed as a casualty in turn 1, it will score for 2 points. So we're not actually starting with Soldiers of Fortune, as a pass has been used because of a difference of 1 model. So instead it was Officer Merkel, who started without Audacity. He's the only one on the Batman crew without Audacity because they have 5 miniatures as previously shown. But he started close enough to Batman that he got a free manipulate. So for his one action he did a move, and then he did the manipulate to put down a snitch. The high scoring OP cards, although an enemy just needs to get within 4 for it not to score, the Stealth Up could definitely do that. However, he would be sacrificing himself, and when your crew only has 4 miniatures, that's a tough one to do, but it is 3 victory points, so let's see what happens. Flashpoint Batman activated, and here he is between the 2 buildings here. He activated with Audacity. His special action was to use rapid fire. He then did a move action and then shot his pistols. Now his pistols are assault and he used rapid fire, so rapid fire adds an extra range die. Assault lets you ignore the penalty of taking away 2 for moving and shooting. He is within 8, so he was within short range just, but it's a -1 to your hit roll. So rather than hitting on his defense 3, it was 4s, and also presumably it applies to the strength die. The strength die does say you, regardless of stats, you just roll the strength die. So for instance it's a firearm, so it'd be a 2+, but it doesn't say it ignores modifiers from special rules. It just says it ignores the target's defense. So I'm not sure if that counted or not. Either way, Flashpoint Batman did get 3 shots through on his dual handguns. thanks to that, and did 3 blood and 3 stun to Merkel. He's still standing, I think he's 5-5, so he's got 2 left of each. Harvey Bullock activated next with Audacity. He just did a move action behind the bus stand there and then placed down a suspect marker. He's hiding, he's enjoying his coffee and a donut. He doesn't care what happens to Merkel. Poor Merkel. Thug 5 activated with Audacity. He did a movement action to where you can see him, and then he opened fire on Officer Merkel as well, but not before using his special trait, Gunman. Now that's a bit of an interesting one because it says after you've done a ranged action you can do a free one. So he fired at Merkel, all said and done, he did 1 blood, 1 stun. Because he moved before firing, he loses 2 of his total 4 dice because it's attack 3 plus the strength die, and only 1 got through for 1 blood, 1 stun. He then took another shot, and there was a brief moment of wondering whether or not the penalty for moving first applies to the second shot. It seems like it does because of the wording for the penalty. It just says if you have done a movement action before doing a ranged action, you get the any range attacks is plural. So it does seem to be that it applies to the second. So he fired only 2 dice on his second shot as well and got snake eyes. So Merkel is clinging on to life on 1 blood and 1 stun remaining for the poor man. Somewhat leaving Merkel to his fate, Commissioner Gordon activated with Audacity. He did a move action, and then for his tactical did a manipulate to place down another suspect marker right where you can see it. So now it's over to either Stealth Op or Bane. So it was Stealth Op that activated with Audacity. He did a move action and he rushed Merkel with his 1 health and his 1 stun, not that that mattered, with his double blood katana. He attacked him in close combat. Merkel didn't bother using effort. Oh, he couldn't use efforts even if he wanted to, actually, now that I think about it, because it's too close to unconsciousness. And as you can see, it did 6 blood because 3 hits got through. So Merkel is down. He's within 4 of the snitch as well, so he's currently counteracting the effects unless he gets taken out by Damien, I guess. But also, a dirty job got scored for Merkel being made a casualty for 1 victory point for Soldiers of Fortune. So under the watchful eye of his father, Robin activated Damian Wayne. He moved into base to base with Stealth Op and immediately got revenge. He's 4 attacks base plus the strength die for 5 plus combo katana. For every 2 successes he gets an extra hit. I think every hit landed. Stealth Op actually did okay with his defense roll from what I recall, but the bonus hits just secured what would have been his death. However, Damien can't do blood damage when he's in a Batman crew, so instead he has just bludgeoned Stealth Op into unconsciousness with his katanas, and as a result he's KO, nothing scored. But that does mean I believe he will not count for disrupting the snitch. Actually, let's check that. Make sure there's no enemy models within 4 inches of the snitch marker. He's unconscious, but he's still within 4. So I guess that would mean he does still disrupt it. Oh, that's rough. That's Batman's fault. If he was doing blood damage, he'd be a stain on the floor. Bane activated finally for the Soldiers of Fortune, and he traversed the sewers to pop out right there. So it's irrelevant if a knocked out model counts against Snitch or not, because he is now within 4 as well, so he's counteracting the Snitch, and he ain't going down in 1 turn. So it is over to Batman to end off Battle Round 1. So after spending all his time in turn 1 up on this wrecked building, Batman activated with Audacity. He used his Batclaw for 6 inches of extra movement, giving him 16 in total. He shot down with the Batclaw past Bane to here, and then threw his Batarangs at Thug 4 for 4 stun, which was exactly enough to knock him out. So he is also going to have to do a wake up check in the cleanup phase, as well as Stealth Op, and some cards will score. Die Hard will score for Soldiers of Fortune. However, Snitch will not score for Batman and go away. So wake up checks have been done. The Thug is staying knocked out, but the Stealth Op has woken up, so he's just prone, knocked down on the floor. As previously just stated, the Die Hard is scoring for Soldiers of Fortune because Flashpoint Batman is totally fine. But also, in phase 4 of the turn, Batman's crew is scoring Stick to the Plan, a neutral card. Have more suspect markers in play than your opponent. There's 1 there, even with the Snitch gone, and then Bullock hid 1 at the far end of the table over there behind the bus shelter, and Soldiers of Fortune put down 0. So with that, let's move into turn 2 and see who's going first. So at the top of turn 2 it will be Batman's crew going first, and also everyone who is alive and conscious has Audacity. That's the upside to having 2 small number crews, I guess. So yeah, we'll be back with Batman's first activation. So the man himself, Batman, was the first to activate. However, just a couple of bits of housekeeping. Bane has used a Venom Dose this turn, and in the Raise the Plan phase, Batman used the World's Greatest Detective. You pick an opposing team's miniature, they do a willpower check. If they fail it, they must be the first one to activate. Stealth Up will be the first one activating for Bane's crew. That said, Batman activated with Audacity. His base was entirely hidden, even though his cape was floating out from the side. So that's important for what happened. Not for sneak attack, because Flashpoint Batman didn't use any efforts anyway, but he would have denied them. Pulled round the corner, attacked his father in the face, and he's pretty tough as well. He is an old man, but he is tough. One punch got through for 2 stun, but that was enough to trigger They Won't See Me Coming, inflict damage on an enemy that didn't have line of sight to the attacker at the start of the activation. 1 victory point for Batman. So, forced to be the first to activate by the world's greatest detective, Stealth Up stood up, suffering impaired movement, but he didn't move. He was supposed to have an Audacity token next to him, just totally forgot because he had the knockdown. He stood up and immediately attacked Damian Wayne and was unable to land a hit on him. He did well with his defense rolls, so nothing there, and back over to Batman's crew. So Damian Wayne activated next for the Batman crew, and he decided to spend a wholesome evening with Dad beating up Grandpa. He used his Batclaw so he could just go over everybody's heads. He went right into the alley that's going to make this absolute murder to film, but they're all in there. He engaged in close combat with his combo katana, obviously not getting a strength die because Flashpoint Batman has bat armor as well, but that said, he did do better than his dad and did 4 stun in total, bringing Flashpoint to 6 of 8 in terms of willpower. He's still very much sturdy with his endurance. He's 10 endurance. So Flashpoint Batman activated, and as you can see, he's no longer there. However, he did use his pistols in close combat on Damian. Damian exerted 1 effort to use the dodging roll, so he would lose an attack die, or the strength die, because that comes off of ranged attacks first. And as a result, he just rolled appallingly, is the word I'm looking for, not poorly. Appallingly. He could not get through the forward defense after losing the strength die on 5 dice, because his guns are 4 plus his strength, which he lost from the dodge. But on the plus side, he did still, however, score Overdrive, which isn't actually a Bane card, even though it's got Bane on it. It's just a generic card. When any model makes an effort to defend itself against your attacks, don't declare an effort for your model. Now, presumably that does cover expending an effort for the dodging roll. The wording might imply that it doesn't. We're going to run with it that it does, but that might be wrong. Either way, he then used his special action to activate his Batclaw. He went psoom, up there, clamber. He's running away a little bit. If he can get away safely enough, he can use the medic trait to cure himself of more of his stun damage. Oh, it's worth noting as an additional thing, he obviously used his Batclaw there. Batman and Robin have already used their Batclaws, so they can't use it next turn, so he is totally safe up there. Anyway, Commissioner Gordon activated with Audacity, and then he also spent Confusion as a resource for 2, so this isn't scoring anything, it's purely the resource. During a friendly model's activation, you can move another friendly model up to 3 inches, and I don't know if that means you can't choose the model which is using the card, I guess. Now that I read it again, I guess that would imply that you can't. During a friendly model, yeah, it does say another friendly model. So technically, for this to have worked on Damian or Batman's turn, it should have been played as a resource to move Gordon 3, because then on Gordon's turn, he just moves 8, and he moved 8 and then arrested for his turn. Technically, that should have been done in one of the prior turns. Nothing that happened would have stopped it happening, so we're just going to run with it, but yeah, totally misread that card. Thought you could apply it to the person playing it. So yeah, we'll just say that Robin played it during his turn, and as a result, Gordon was there. He got moved 3, and then his 8 is barely enough to get into base to base to arrest Thug 6. Doesn't score anything, there's no arrest card in hand, but it does remove a potential threat. So Bane activated, and he's a little cross and hopped up on Venom. He charged Commissioner Gordon. He used 2 effort, not because he needed to, because as you can see, Commissioner Gordon is very, very unconscious. That's 10 damage, much more than his willpower, so he is unconscious. But he deliberately did 2 effort so that he could score a Search and Destroy for 2 victory points. A friendly model scores at least 2 hits during an action where it performed at least 2 efforts. He did. Now, the question is whether or not the invulnerability he gets from getting hopped up on Venom counts against the stun damage he would take for efforting. I guess in the end it doesn't really matter because he still was going to defend 2 damage at some point this turn, assuming he gets attacked, although the last person to go is Bullock, and that's probably not going to happen. But wasn't 100% sure on that particular part. But either way, over to Bullock to end turn 2. So another awkward angle to film, but Harvey activated with Audacity. He moved round, and as you can see, he placed a suspect marker, which is also another snitch, and because he's the last one to go in this turn, this is an insta score for 3 victory points. So that's as things stand at the end of turn 2, barring any phase 4 objective cards. And there is a single phase 4 objective card being played. It is another stick to the plan from the Batman crew in phase 4 for having more suspect markers in play than the opponent. Bane's crew hasn't got a single one down. So yeah, that's scored. Very handy putting these in a Batman deck that is focused on placing suspect markers, as it turns out. So yeah, we're going to move into turn 3. So as we begin the penultimate turn, it will be Soldiers of Fortune getting first activation in Battle Round 3. Commissioner Gordon is staying very unconscious this turn, so he's staying down and will not be getting a turn. Other than that, everybody who is conscious with stun damage has healed 1, so Damian, Thomas Wayne, and who else had stun and was conscious? Well, Bane, depending on whether or not the invulnerability took it. He's also using another Venom dose, and also World's Greatest Detective was once again used on him, but it failed, so he doesn't need to activate first. Could be either of the other 2 of the not many miniatures left on the map, and it is Bane's crew going first, which I think I already said. So with that, let's get things started. So still riding that Venom high, Bane was first to activate for Soldiers of Fortune. He charged into Batman, who turned around to face him, and as you can see, he got walloped pretty good. That is 8 stun damage. This Batman has 9 willpower, so he is staying conscious on 1. That said though, it does score They Must Know Pain for Soldiers of Fortune. Inflict at least 6 damage of any type with a single melee attack, which Bane has done in spades. So that is scored. Batman activated, he squeezed around Bane to go after Stealth Up, who's still just sitting on 1 after waking up. Did more than enough, did 4 stun, so he is re-knocked out and will not be getting an activation this turn, which does mean that it has to be Flashpoint Batman next, and then it's either Damian or Bullock. So as it turns out, Flashpoint Batman can't use the medic trait on himself to heal that stun damage, so he used Rapid Fire, and then he used his Batcape to descend the building and charge Harvey Bullock over here, and fired his last rounds of ammunition. Rapid Fire Assault, so he doesn't lose any dice for moving and shooting. Instead he gets a -1, so he needed 4s instead of 3s, and 1 extra dice thrown in as well because of the rapid fire. As you can see, he did 3 blood and 3 stun for the successful hits that landed on Bullock, which are not enough to take him out. So he's conscious, nothing scored, but he went after a softer target when it became apparent he was close to being knocked out. So we're just going to cover the last 2 activations for the penultimate battle round. Damian was up first. He fled, but for a good reason. Yes, the final snitch card got drawn, so he simply placed that, and it's a guaranteed score because there's no enemy activating, so that has scored for 3. Bullock pulled out his trusty service revolver and shot Flashpoint Batman point blank, who managed to get 2 hits through, so that's 2 blood, 2 stun. The blood is negligible, but the stun puts him 1 away from falling unconscious, and I have to come around here real quick because Bullock then ran away as best he could, and has ran away to there, so that does take us to the cleanup for Battle Round 3. No additional cards being played at the end of that battle round. Commissioner Gordon is not waking up, so he isn't getting a turn in the last battle round. Neither is Stealth Up, so both of them are out of the game for all intents and purposes. No objective cards being played, so we can go straight into battle round 4, see who's going first and whether or not there's any phase 1 or phase 2 cards. So here we are at the setup for the final battle round. No objective cards are being placed. Everyone who is conscious healed 1 stun damage. Also need to mention, couldn't remember how badly Flashpoint Batman hurt Robin. I don't think it was at all, and he just used effort. His card fell on the floor along with Merkel's, who still had all his stun damage on it from before he died, and don't remember how much was on which. So if Robin was actually meant to be unconscious, apologies. I don't think that's what happened, but again, the cards got mixed through a human error and they just fell on the floor. So apologies for that, but we're still going to play it this last turn. Bane's crew, the Soldiers of Fortune, get first activation, and Bane has used his final Venom dose. So Bane walked on over to Batman and punched him in the back of the head and did 4 stun, much more than was required to knock him out, so he's not getting an activation. And also another dirty job for Soldiers of Fortune has scored for making a model KO for 1. Damien activated, and there wasn't much for him to do in his state, or where he was, so he just came over here and he put down a suspect marker, not to score any cards, but just to deny any kind of potential ones for Soldiers of Fortune that are like have more X than Y type cards. That seemed like the only thing for him to do. So it is over to Flashpoint Batman to end the turn for Soldiers of Fortune, and then back over to Bullock to end the game. So we're over here for both actions after they have been carried out. Flashpoint Batman just simply moved because he's out of ammo, and he placed a suspect marker. Also apologies for the construction noise in the background. Good job, we're about to finish. To score Black Ops for placing a suspect marker down within 8 inches of an enemy that can't draw line of sight to it or the model, and he couldn't. But then Bullock moved in, making use of his small base to squeeze past Flashpoint Batman and reveal, because he had Dassey, reveal the suspect marker and actually scored his wrong place kid, which is his unique. Reveal an enemy suspect marker at least 6 inches away from any of your models with the cop trait. They're all dead, with the exception of the model revealing the marker, because Bullock is a cop. So he just scored that for 3. If Bullock just saved the day, that's ridiculous. So because of all the construction noise in the background, we are just going to be very swift here we're with working out who is the victor. So let's add up Bane's first. So that is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 on the dot. And the Batman crew, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So even if... Well, actually, if Bullock hadn't scored that card, it would have been 11 apiece, because his was worth 3, right? Yeah, so if he hadn't done that, it would have been a draw, but thanks to Harvey Bullock, the world's greatest detective / police officer who definitely isn't crooked, it is a Batman victory today, and Soldiers of Fortune go home wanting. But it was a bit of a meme list. 4 miniatures, only 2 of them had veteran trait. The Soldiers of Fortune deck obviously benefits you if you have a bunch of veterans. Like the Bane Bat Box is perfect for the objectives. It's ridiculously unfair, honestly. This was more of a silly list, with Bane and Flashpoint Batman taking up like 2/3, more than 2/3 of the point value. Flashpoint Batman, because he got into a fight with Batman and Robin so early, it was a little hard to judge his quality. He's very good at shooting. Rapid fire and assault pistols is quite scary when they have a base of 4 rate of fire. So yeah, he feels like he could be a beast, but you'd probably want to bring him as the leader. Like, I believe if you don't bring a leader model in 3rd edition, a sidekick can be counted as your leader. So if he was a leader backed up by maybe like the Bane mercenaries, or a mixture, because he can't have all of them because he isn't an elite boss, he might do well as a leader. But bringing them both, not practical, I think. But that was a fun one. It was nice to come back to Batman. Expect intermittent battle reports going forwards, and also some coverage of the new Two-Face releases later this month. Thank you very much for watching. Apologies for any mistakes. We were very rusty. Until next time, ta-ta for now.